Hey, how's it going everybody? And welcome back to this second video in the MySQL tutorial series. In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can create tables, insert data, and select data, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the most important things that you need to know. And if you missed the first episode and want to know how to get everything set up, I'll be leaving a link down in the description below so you can have a look at that. Alright, so let's get logged in. And let's start executing queries. So over here you can see that I have a blank slate. I have no databases and no tables. So let's start off by creating our very first database. We're going to write create database. And wait, let me make this bigger. Database. And we're going to call it testDB. As soon as I execute that, you'll see that once I refresh, I have the very first database over here called testDB. Now, if we want to delete a schema that we just created, we can simply write drop database and then write the name of the database. So if I go ahead and execute that, we are deleting the schema again. But let's get it set up again. So there's our schema, and let's create a table for it. To create a table, all we need to write is create table and then give the table a name. It's going to be called members. And then in brackets, we're going to write the column names. The first one's going to be the ID, and the data type is going to be integer. Then we're going to have a first name, and the first name is going to be a varchar of length 255. And there's going to be a last name, and it's also going to be a varchar of length 255. Now, after I have written all of this, you'll see that if I try and execute this, I'm going to get an error down in the output. Now, let me tell you why that is, but let me first show you the error. So if a query is executed successfully, you'll see this green tick. Now, if there is an error, like there was in this case a moment ago, you'll see that there is this red cross. Now, why did this query not execute? The reason why it didn't execute is because we didn't have a schema selected. So to have a schema selected, all you need to do is double click on it. So if I double click, you'll see that it lights up and it's bold now. And if I go ahead and select the query again and execute it, then I get a green check mark next to my query, and it is executed successfully. So if I refresh this, you'll see that the table, that under the tables, there is in fact a table called members, which is the one we just created. And if I drop down again, you'll see that we have the columns that we wanted in this table as well. Okay, so how about we try and insert a few values into this table? To insert a value, all we need to write is insert into and then the table name. And after that, we can simply write the column names out, ID, first name, and last name. And then after that, we have to write values. And we pass in the values we want to add. So let's give it an ID, our first member an ID of 1. The first name is going to be Max. And the last name is going to be Gates. If I execute this, you'll see that the query is successfully executed. But let's try and retrieve this value. So to retrieve the value, you can execute a select statement. We can write select and then the star, which selects all the columns. And then we write from which database. We want it from the members table. And then if I run this, you'll see that we get an output. We get the ID 1, the first name Max, and the last name Gates, which is exactly what we inserted earlier. Now, let's say you want to insert more than one set of values. Let's say you want to insert a couple of values, then all you need to do is you need to add a comma between the sets of values you're adding. So let's make this 2, this 3, this 4, and we're going to add wax, fax, and gax. And then the last name will be Miller, Filler, and I don't know, give me a good last name. Peter. Okay, so then we can select all this and execute it, and all these values will be inserted into the members table. And you can see this, that as soon as I select all from the members list, from the members table, we get this nice overview over here with all the values that we just created. Now, how about we try and select a specific column? Because at the moment, we're selecting all the columns that we have, the ID, the first name, and the last name. But how about we only try and select the first name? So to do that, all we need to do is we need to write the first name instead of the star. And if we execute this, you'll see that we only get the first name. And if we want the last name too, then we can, you simply have to separate the first and last name by a comma, and we can execute this, and we'll have the first and last name, which is also great. So at the moment, our table has 3 columns. How about we try and alter the table and add another column, such as the city name? So to do that, all we need to do is we need to write alter table, then we need to write the name of the table, and then after that, we need to add a new column. We're going to call it city, and we need to also specify the data type, which is going to be a var char of length 255. And when I execute that, and then subsequently select everything again from the members table, you'll see that we have the column city, which is currently null for all our individual entries because we haven't specified a city for any of the members we have added. So let's go ahead and add the city over here into the insert statement as one of the columns. And let's also specify a city within the values. We can simply choose a city like London. And if we then execute this insert into statement again, you'll be able to see that we have now got an entry where the city is London. All right, so now we've created this city column. How do we get rid of it again? We can get rid of it by simply altering the table again. So we can write alter table, and we're going to alter the table members. And we are going to drop the column city. And if we execute this, you'll see that when we look at the entire structure of the table again, the column city will be gone from the results, and it will also be gone from the columns that you see down here in the dropdown. All right, so that is a brief overview of how you can insert data into tables, how you can retrieve it, and how you can create tables and databases. If this video helped you out, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel, and we'll see each other in the next video.